Welcome to the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. Just like you, I'm an independent retail business owner. I love the home decor and gift boutique I co-own with my sister, but I don't want it to consume me or my life. Join me each week as I share lessons learned, helpful tips, and valuable information for your retail business and life. Whether you're buying your products or making your products, whether you're a $25K business or a $2.5 million business, I'm on a mission to help indie retailers work less, profit more, and grow. Let's get started on today's episode. Welcome to episode 162 of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. What the Savvy Shopkeeper Quiz is teaching me about indie retailers. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. It's been approximately 1 year since I launched the Savvy Shopkeeper Quiz. If you want to learn about it, you can go to savvyshopkeeper.com/quiz. Nearly 1,000 of you have taken the quiz, and thank you. I'm so glad you did. I sincerely hope you found it helpful. Building this framework and the quiz, along with my team member, Jamie, shout out to Jamie, was one way I bossed up in 2021 and 2022. It took me a long time to build the framework. Over the past year, I realized after we launched the quiz how incredibly valuable this framework is, not just for all of you, but for me too as your coach and guide. And I'll be talking about this more in a minute. Well, I'm happy to say I bossed up again in 2022 and I hired an attorney to trademark the Savvy Shopkeeper name. I have put countless hours into research, conversations, connecting, understanding, reading, brainstorming, thinking, sweat, tears, all of it into building this business, which means I should protect it, right? And I did. I know some of you have questions about trademarks, so I actually want to bring my trademark attorney onto the podcast. That means I want to hear all of your trademark questions. You can DM me on Instagram. My username is @SavvyShopkeeper. I really want to know what it is that you want to know about the trademark process. If you're in Master Shopkeepers, post in the group and ask me a question. I'd really like to be able to help here and get your questions answered too. Okay, let's get started on this episode. So I created the Savvy Shopkeeper Quiz for several reasons. I want to share why. The first one was, again, to create a framework that identifies stages of store owners. So I have podcast listeners and Master Shopkeepers members in all 5 stages. And depending on the stage you're in, your needs and what you should focus on is different. And I wanted to identify these different stages. This means I had to get clear on the path of a brick-and-mortar store owner. And that's how the 5 stages were born, from aspiring shopkeeper to retail CEO. The second reason is I wanted to take that one step further. Now I know what the stages are, but what does that mean? And once I identified the 5 stages, I wanted to get really clear on what you should focus on in each of those stages. I have a lot of helpful and free content, from podcast episodes to blog posts, free downloadable resources. But if you take the quiz, you then get a bit of a roadmap, because yes, you can listen to all the podcast episodes and read all the blog posts if you want, and I know some of you do. However, if you take the quiz, you'll get a list of podcast episodes specific to where you are in your business. You'll get a couple of downloadable resources and hopefully some information that validates where you are in your journey. When you read that page that describes the stage that you're in, what I'm hoping for is you're thinking, yes, that's me. That's what I'm working on. That's what I need to focus on. The third reason was to take this to another level, to help Master Shopkeepers even more. And this is what I'm doing in Master Shopkeepers with the framework and the 5 stages. So I'm hosting stage group calls. That means we go out into breakout sessions in a Zoom call, and everyone's chatting with the people in the same exact stage. I also host specific stage group calls so that if other people want to attend, like for instance, I hosted a retail CEO stage group call. And I can't tell you how many people in stages 1 through 4 attended that just so they could sit back and listen to the conversation. Curious what that 5th stage looks like. What are those business owners focusing on? What does it feel like to be in the retail CEO stage? It was really, really interesting. This episode is brought to you by my free resource, Tools of the Retail Trade Resource Guide, a 28-page downloadable resource filled with software, tools, and equipment recommendations just for brick-and-mortar retail store owners. Learn what I use and what other store owners are using. Visit savvyshopkeeper.com/resources. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/resources and sign up for my newsletter to get the guide. The second thing I'm doing in Master Shopkeepers is I'm coaching better because once I know what stage you're in, I can help and guide you better. And then the other thing that I'm doing that I just recently started launching, I'm calling them like level 2 roadmaps. If you get this level 1 roadmap at the end of the quiz, once you join Master Shopkeepers, now you have access to hundreds of lessons in the lab. Well, that can be overwhelming, right? Now, moving forward, all Master Shopkeepers members will know which stage they're in because they take the quiz and they'll have access to this level 2 roadmap. Now, these are much longer. They're 8 to 10 pages, and it also helps them focus on certain things in the lab. That's the library of resources Master Shopkeepers get, and that helps them focus on things that are relevant to the stage that they're in. Reason number 4 is to help podcast listeners and any shopkeeper who enters the Savvy Shopkeeper world by giving them a frame of reference because it's just so much more relatable. For instance, the Savvy Starter stage. This is stage 2. A shopkeeper in this stage is burning the candle at both ends. They're exhausted normally, juggling 1,000 balls while opening and launching their store. And this usually happens for the first 6 months or year. Now, you might be thinking, well, Kathy, I'm at a higher stage and feel that way all the time. However, once you move into stage 3 and definitely stages 4 and 5, you should have systems set up and team members in place who have alleviated this level of work and exhaustion. And that's what I'm hoping to do through the framework and through the stages is educate shopkeepers so that they're setting up systems that really help build a business that brings them joy, doesn't exhaust them, generates profit, and helps them grow. So in the case of the Savvy Starter, it can help a Master Shopkeeper member by focusing on maybe time management module or the operations modules in the member portal, maybe even the human resources module, because the Savvy Starter wants to start to focus on those things because that's what's going to alleviate that pain point for them. I'm happy to share that we recently optimized the quiz. So again, thank you, Jamie. Jamie's the Savvy Shopkeeper team member who helped me build this incredibly helpful tool. In March, we met on Zoom for a 1-year review and analysis. And this is what I love about my team members. They're incredibly invested in the projects that we work on in order to help all of you. Sam was the same exact way with the digital planner. They don't just do the work and move on. My team members are thoughtful, they listen, they analyze, and they want to help me help all of you. I hope they know I noticed this. I'm extremely grateful for it. You might be thinking at this point, okay, Kathy, but tell me what you learned, because that's the title of the quiz. What did I learn from the quiz? And here it is. This is what I learned from some of the questions asked in the quiz. So one of the questions revealed to me that you're all evenly spread across all 5 stages. Exactly what I saw in our group membership. I felt like we had people in all stages, and I really wanted to figure out how I can help them based on the stage that they're in. So it was interesting to me that the quiz gave me the same results. You're all spread across all 5 stages. And that's why identifying the 5 stages have been so incredibly important and valuable. Another question revealed many of you want help with systems and knowing what to focus on next, which validates my plan for the roadmaps. Another question told me more than half the quiz takers are either solo shopkeepers or have 1 or 2 part-timers. But you want to grow, and that's why stages 3 to 5 are so important. Otherwise, brick-and-mortar retailers will stay stuck. The roadmaps help with this. And I want to mention too that if I have quiz results that show me you're all spread out over all 5 stages, why are at least half of you solo shopkeepers? That tells me that some of you are holding yourselves back in terms of growing your businesses, because a solo shopkeeper is most likely in stage 1 or stage 2. And according to the results, there are quite a few of you, probably maybe even in stage 3 and 4, who are still doing this solo. Another question highlights to me that most of you know that in order to grow, a solid understanding of your financials is crucial, and you want to know how to do this. And then another thing I learned is y'all want more help with time management. You are burning the candle on both ends and you're tired. Interestingly enough, sometimes this is the case in all 5 stages. This episode is brought to you by Master Shopkeepers, my mastermind group for brick-and-mortar retail store owners. If you're craving support, connection, inspiration, and motivation for your retail business, apply to join us. It doesn't matter what stage of shopkeeping you're in, what matters is your drive to work less, profit more, and grow, both personally and professionally. Learn more at savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership, all one word. Now, here's what I learned from shopkeepers in some of the stages. This isn't necessarily related to questions, but some of the things I've learned now that I've talked to shopkeepers in the stages. I already shared some insight about the Savvy Starter, but here are some things I learned from shopkeepers in other stages. The profitable planner. This one is interesting. There's a general annoyance with the title profitable planner, and it's because some of you are not seeing a profit in this stage. But that might be because no one has taught you how to be profitable from those earlier stages. And then I think, yes, that's why I'm here. I can teach you that, If the title bothers you, I want you to focus on becoming profitable. AKA you're planning for profit. See what I did there? Instead of focusing on being profitable already. I don't want you to beat yourself up for not being profitable. What I want you to focus on is how can you be profitable? What can you learn to get you to be profitable? In the growing retailer stage, store owners are ready for a store manager, but maybe a little fearful of letting go of control, or they think they can't let go because they have a lack of systems. That's why documenting systems and processes in earlier stages, that's why it's so incredibly important. And then the retail CEO. The shopkeepers in this stage are really empowering. I've hosted group calls for members and master shopkeepers in each stage. These have been some of my favorite focus group calls, and the retail CEO call brought members in, like I mentioned earlier, from all stages because they want to see what's possible. And they sure did see it, because retail CEOs on that call, they used words like freedom, flexibility, and passive income. Talk about bossing up, right? If you haven't taken the quiz, I highly recommend it. We've improved some questions. We improved the landing page. We added more recent and helpful podcast episodes to the lists when you get those roadmaps. The quiz is an incredibly helpful tool to both me and you. If my mission is to help store owners work less, profit more, and grow, then having a tool to help us both identify where you are on the journey is step 1. And it's a really easy step 1. It's just 8 questions. And I must say, based on conversations in Master Shopkeepers, it's pretty darn accurate. It's not perfect, but it is accurate. Also, I want to add one thing, especially since I've talked so much about the quiz. Please don't try to outsmart the quiz or answer questions in a way that will push you into another stage. This is a disservice to yourself. There are foundational things at each stage that are extremely important for your growth and sometimes your sanity. So don't try to put yourself ahead. Be truthful, even if the result isn't what you'd like it to be. The best time to be honest with yourself about your business is when you take the quiz. If you take the quiz, you are signing up for my weekly newsletter. You're agreeing to get Savvy Shopkeeper emails. I usually send one a week. I'm always transparent about this. The newsletter for me is just one more way that I can serve brick-and-mortar store owners. And if it's been a year since you took the quiz when I first announced it, I recommend actually taking it again. Hopefully, after a year, you've evolved, you've grown as a shopkeeper, which means you may have moved into the next stage or even further. If you want to see the show notes to this episode or find links to anything I mentioned, visit my blog at savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 162. Of course, we'll have the quiz link there. And again, if you want to take the quiz, you'll go to savvyshopkeeper.com/quiz. One final thing that I want to say is I also found, I don't know if I mentioned this, I also found that time doesn't necessarily matter because I have people who are retail CEOs within a year. And I have some other store owners who have been open for 10 years and are not retail CEOs yet. So it's really not based off of the amount of time that you've been a store owner. So I want to make sure that you understand that because I don't want you to have an expectation that with each stage requires an amount of time. It really is dependent on the business and the store owner themselves and how quickly they move forward in the stages. So again, if you want to take the quiz, it's savvyshopkeeper.com/quiz. Until the next episode, be savvy and boss up.